Hey, welcome back to another episode of Simple Truth Television. Today is May 6, 2021. I want to talk about the death of the drug smuggler George Jung, who inspired the film Blow. The film Blow came out in 2001. And the character George was played by Johnny Depp. I know you guys remember that movie. It was definitely a classic. He's supposed to be died yesterday on May 5th at the age of 78. And this is the film here. It's featuring Johnny Depp and Penelope Cruz. Came out in 2001. So Johnny Depp, he played the character George, but George was actually a real drug smuggler in real life. And he died at the age of 78. I'm not sure from what he actually died from because they didn't report his cause of death. But this looks like another Jesuit ritual. Definitely. I mean, he died at the age of 78. Of course, Jesuit sums to 78. So let's just wait for a few more people to join us. I want to make sure that the audio is working and everything is clear before we get started. Definitely another murder by numbers case here. Yes, Johnny Depp equals 55, just like George Jung. And then he died on 5/5. We'll definitely get into all the Gematria and the numerology behind his death. But if someone can just confirm that the audio is working so that way we don't have any issues. So how's the audio, Rizwan? You know, when I do these live streams, most of you are going to watch it on the playback because you're not going to probably get a notification. So this is why there's only 8 people watching the video. But if out of the 8 people watching, if someone can just say whether or not they can hear me, I can get started with the presentation. Thanks a lot, Boxer Gematria. Appreciate you and thank you for joining us. So, like I said, they haven't released the cause of death. I'll check now to see if somehow another news source has his cause of death. Because, you know, sometimes their cause of death is also has some gematria in it. But let me see what it says here. TMZ was the first to report that Hung, I don't know if his name is Jung or Hung, but Jung died at his home in the Boston area. He had been experiencing liver and kidney failure and had been in home hospice care. But his cause of death has not been released. So they haven't released his cause of death, but they're saying that it's related to liver and his kidneys. So whatever. But we know exactly what happened to this man. This man was ritualistically sacrificed. No doubt about it. So I looked into who he was, and two things happened with him. Not only was he a big-time drug smuggler for the Pablo Escobar cartel, the Medellin cartel out of Mexico, but his story was told in a book, and it was also told in the film Blow, right? But the book Blow, because the movie was made out of this book, it was titled "How a Small-Town Boy Made $100 Million with the Medellin Cocaine Cartel and Lost It All." That was the title of the book. And it was written by a man named Bruce Porter, right? Now, the title of that book also has some interesting gematria because it sums to 397, and that's the 78th prime number. And of course, George Hung died at the age of 78 today. Actually, yesterday on May 5th, right? Jesuit also sums to 78, and I know that's not a coincidence because the person who wrote the book, Bruce Porter, he was born on October 30th. And George died 187 days after his birthday. Of course, that's the number that's associated with the homicide code. But that's also the number connected to the Jesuits. And Jesuit by itself is 78. And he died 187 days after the person who wrote the book on his life stories last birthday. So that's definitely suspicious right there. But the film, this is probably more popular than the book. The film came out in 2001, like I said, and the actor Johnny Depp portrayed him in the film. And notice Blow and Jung, his surname has the same gematria: 52, 16, 56, and 20. There goes another 56, another Jesuit number, right? But Johnny Depp, the main character, he was born June 9th, 1963. And George, the real George, passed away on his 331st day of his age. And that's the 67 prime number. Of course, blood sacrifice and human sacrifice sums to 67, right? But notice what Johnny Depp sums to in Gematria. It sums to 55, just like the guy's name. And then he dies on May 5th, on 5/5. So George Hung or Jung is 55. Johnny Depp is 55. Also, Pablo Escobar is 55. And supposedly, George Hung, he used to work for the Pablo Escobar cartel out of Mexico. Even though Pablo Escobar was from Colombia, he smuggled a lot of drugs into Mexico and from Mexico into the United States. I was thinking about looking into the story of Pablo Escobar because I haven't seen anybody decode Pablo Escobar's life. But Pablo Escobar definitely went out by the numbers. He was murdered on December 2nd on 12/2, and satanic sums to 122. Just like how Satan equals 55, and this drug smuggler died on 5/5. But satanic equals 122, and Pablo Escobar died on 12/2. Notice satanic is also 67, like how George died on Johnny Depp's 331st day of his age, at 67 prime. So there's definitely a connection between Pablo Escobar and George Jung. So I'll definitely probably look into Pablo Escobar's life, see if I see anything. I know he died at the age of 44. He actually died a day after his birthday. He was born on 12/1 on December 1st. And of course, kill and execution is 44. So there's definitely, Pablo Escobar definitely went out by the numbers. But Cinco de Mayo is also 55. And what a coincidence that Cinco de Mayo is on 5/5. But sacrifice is also 55. Like Satan, like God is also 55. But George Jung, he was born on August 6, 86. Right, blood sacrifice is also 86. But he died 39 weeks, after his birthday. And George, his first name, sums to 39. So this is definitely another ritual by the numbers, and I'm curious to know if there's more connections with Pablo Escobar, being that Pablo Escobar's name sums to 55, and this person used to work for him. So let's see if I can look into the article, see, just to show you guys that if they even mentioned Pablo Escobar's name in the article. So let's see. So they talk about the book here. They talk about how the movie came out from the book. Okay, so what happened to the article? All these pop-ups. Okay, so here we go. So it says here that Blow was an adaptation of the non-fiction book Blow, how a small town boy made $100 million with the Medellin cocaine cartel and lost it all. So that is definitely the title of the book, which equates to the 78th prime number, and he died at the age of 78. And they also mentioned Bruce Porter, and then he died 187 days after the writer's birthday, right? But notice here it says both the book and the film chronicled Jung's trajectory as a figure of the cocaine trade as part of the Medellin cartel founded by Pablo Escobar. Now, I'm curious to know, because the Medellin cartel, was that out of Mexico? Because isn't Cinco de Mayo a Mexican holiday? I don't think the Medellin cartel was based out of Mexico, though. Yeah, it was actually based out of Colombia. You'll see there's some gematria behind that. Some to 124. Let's see something. Yeah, I'm gonna look into Pablo Escobar because there's definitely more connections with this man's death and Pablo Escobar, the infamous drug dealer. It says here that Jung was also known as Boston George, and they even talked about, they called Johnny Depp Boston George in that film. Boston George has that 56 like the Jesuits, right? It's funny how these big drug smugglers they all died in connection to the Jesuit numbers. Isn't that crazy? Goes to show you who's behind Pablo Escobar and Mr. George Jung. Just sick stuff. Sick stuff. And then he had the perfect surname, right? Blow. So I think the big thing is his name equaling 55, just like Johnny Depp, and then him dying on 5/5. I think that's the most pop. That's the one thing that pops out the most. I mean, what are the odds of that? He dies on May 5th, right? Him dying 39 weeks after his birthday is also very suspicious. And also dying on Johnny Depp's 331st day of his age, the 67 prime. That's very suspicious as well. Him dying 187 days after the writer's birthday, that can also be that is also a red flag, by the way. But notice here, Jesuit is 78. Jesuit is 78. He died at the age of 78, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some more research on Pablo Escobar's life. And if I don't make a video, I will definitely make a blog post. Because there's definitely a connection with this drug smuggler and Pablo Escobar. But like I said, Satanic is 122 and Pablo Escobar died on 12/2. And you notice here, he died a day after his 44th birthday. Of course, kill and execution is 44. And like I said, Satanic is 122, like the day that he died. Right? Pablo Escobar. And then his full name sums to 122. So that goes to show you that Pablo Escobar's death was also by the numbers. I mean, this is just me doing stuff right now as we speak. I had no idea that his full name sums to 122, but he died on 12/2. So this is what I'm saying. I'm gonna look into Pablo Escobar's life because I'm guarantee you he went out by the numbers, just like almost all these people. I know definitely. What's this guy name from Mexico? El Chapo. His whole entire life is by the numbers. His jail sentence, his escape, all of it. So same thing with Pablo Escobar. And isn't that crazy? I mean, that goes to show you who's behind all these drug dealers. That's why they're famous. These people are all Jesuit actors. It was the Jesuits all along smuggling all those drugs inside the U.S. What a damn shame. Yeah, so I'm definitely gonna come back and look into Pablo Escobar's life. So I'll leave it there, and it'll probably take me like 30 minutes to look over this. So, but Pablo Escobar's full name sums to 20/2, like 122. So I'll be back within probably 30 minutes.